G'day. I hope you're enjoying the Play Media replay series. I'm Sean Callanan from Sports Geek, but I've also founded Play Media, looking at the world of gaming, video games, streaming, and esports. We've kicked off a video series. We kicked it off late last year. We've done 5 episodes, and so we're replaying those episodes for your enjoyment here in an audio form. You can check them out on the Play Media YouTube channel. You can go to weareplaymedia.com if you want to subscribe. We'd love your feedback on both the content and the contents of the content. In this episode, we look at the world of gamers and streamers and streaming and what can streaming offer brands. And I think this is pretty relevant also to many sports brands that are starting to dip their toe into the world of streaming, and especially around the world of Twitch. How can you leverage your athletes in the world of streaming and Twitch? So you'll learn a little bit here also about why the music industry is really loving the world of gaming as well. So enjoy this episode. Normal Sports Geek programming will resume very, very shortly, but enjoy this episode of Play Media Replay. Hello and welcome to another edition of Play Media. We are your gaming growth partner. My name is Sean Callanan. I'm here with my co-host and co-founder, Chris Derrick. Welcome, Chris.
G'day, Sean. G'day, everyone.
Well, let's get stuck into the show. What caught my eye is our first segment.
Sean, what did catch your eye this week?
What a beautiful hand pass there. Chris, what caught my eye this week was the coverage of esports and video gaming overall. And this particular podcast that sort of kicked it all off, Background Briefing, if you're looking for it, it's an ABC investigation podcast, but we don't want to dive into all the parts of the podcast itself. It was more, I guess, just looking at from how the media keeps retreading the same steps around how it covers video gaming and esports. And I guess part of it...
We don't go into too much depth, but just give us the gist of it.
Yeah, so the gist of it...
Why is it called
Yeah, so I guess the angle is a bit of a negative angle. It's talking about esports and match fixing and the issues of gambling, which are not... They're not restricted to the world of esports and gaming, gambling and the opportunities and some of the positives and negatives are across all things. I think what I wanted to sort of cover, if you listen to that podcast, the first 19 minutes explaining esports, telling everyone what esports and gaming is and what are the opportunities, a lot like this show. And then you see there's a bit of a twist and a sting in the tail where they sort of go into the dark web and talk about different things. And it's a bit of a... I guess I wanted to tackle it from is how the industry, the esports industry and the video game industry, I guess, engage traditional media and understanding, what story they're trying to get out, how they can position it. And I guess it's partly, the lack of, PR savviness and media savviness, and also having those relationships to know that's where the story's going. So it's, that's the disappointing point from me, and seeing, what about yourself?
Well, I think, I agree with everything you're saying. What we've seen from some of the other programs that are probably a bit more well known for chasing a bit of a salacious angle is similar stories. And anecdotally, you and I know lots of people in the industry, and we know the people that appear on these shows, and they're approached in goodwill, and they give their time and their commentary in goodwill, and then it kind of like you say in this piece, it almost gets manipulated a little bit into something a bit more darker and not so pleasant. There's obviously so many really good things going on in gaming and in esports, and the media doesn't always pick up on those. What I find particularly interesting about this one is that it's coming from the ABC, our national broadcaster. They run content that goes to the other side all the time. They've got a series on iView now with Nick Boy, who's been well known, is well known within Australian gaming media, and he's looking at a lot of the positive and the proactive stuff around gaming, and talking to a lot of the people in gaming about how it's good for them, how it's created careers for them, how it's given them opportunities because maybe they're disabled or something else. So to see this type of stuff come from them is a bit disappointing.
And I think
me.
the piece, and I guess it's showing them maturation of the industry. Like if you look at the sports industry, and if you take the big sports here in Australia, the NRL, AFL, cricket, and the like, when an article that portrays them in a negative light, there always is, wait the next couple of days, there'll be some other positive, the checks and balances and the favours being asked to get a secondary to sort of quash something. And I think that's the piece that at the moment, the video game and esports industry needs to develop stronger ties, need to develop a few more friends in the media. There are people that are doing that both independently and in the traditional news outlets, but I think that's the opportunity where you can get a little bit more balance. And we're not all about everything sunshine and rainbows and those kind of things, but it's about playing that media game. And I think that's one of the things I think the video game and esports industry can learn.
Yeah, for sure.
So what we want to move to next, which is our Explain the Game segment. Each week we dive in, look at a game from a marketer's point of view to understand how you can interact, and use the game to reach different audiences. This week, our game of choice, the game we are going to explain, is Pokemon Go. Chris, Pokemon Go.
Now, Sean, you're the Pokemon Go player, so why don't you tell us a little bit about it?
So, I mean, player, and I again use that term very loosely. But again, when you talk about Pokemon Go, most of the response from people from an advertising marketing point of view is like, "Oh yeah, Pokemon Go, I remember that when it had that really big spike of it in that early." Augmented reality time space when all the phones were starting to have that functionality. So 2016 is when everyone remembers it. And really got a huge spike and it went mainstream almost, where there was swarms of people coming around particular Pokemon gyms and walking around without looking up because they were trying to catch Pokemon. But the thing is, there's still a whole bunch of people using it. Some of the numbers. Over 1 billion downloads, billion revenue in 2020. It's like, that's the thing. It's always one of those trivia questions we ask. So how much revenue do you think Pokemon Go did this year? It's amazing. I'm not primarily the gamer that plays, but who is the gamer that plays Pokemon Go?
Yeah, look, one of the things that's quite interesting about Pokemon is that it's pretty evenly split in terms of gender. So it's only 60% male to 40% female. A lot of the other games that skewing can be a lot higher. So it kind of goes to both genders. The average age is actually quite old, sort of 29, which is kind of around the sort of the sweet spot in terms of the overall average age for gamers. But it does skew kind of into quite a nice overall market, 18 to 34. Overall, that's a pretty attractive audience for brands and marketers to try to target.
And for those who don't know, it is, if you don't remember, it is getting your phone out there and walking around and being in real life and not being sitting on a couch with a console. It's a mobile game. And again, one of the surprising things of 2020 was the pivot that they made as people's movement changed, right? COVID, and there was lockdowns and people couldn't get out. The game developers changed the game a little bit so you could still train your Pokemon, you could still get out. And they actually saw increased activity because we were in that lockdown mode and we only had that 1 hour. People were going out, getting in their Ks in that hour of exercise and playing the game along.
Yeah, and why don't we have a look at the playbook? Because I think this is where it gets really interesting for brands.
So the playbook is the Play Media playbook, how a brand can interact with the game. So, Chris, is there opportunities for brands to be inside the game?
Yeah, absolutely. And like I said, I think this is really exciting and interesting space. The way that the app works in that you pull it out while you're out on your walk, they can guide you to a store. So if you're a McDonald's, a 7-Eleven, an Adidas, it doesn't really matter what it is, that you follow the Pokemon and you got to capture it. You can do that in store. And there's integrations that Niantic, the publisher, can provide to do that. And then there's also just kind of the sort of ambient scenery as well. They can put in billboards of your brand within it as well. Obviously, it's digital, so there's a lot of tracking and everything else that can be done within that. Really interesting stuff can be done.
And the other piece of in-game that we are seeing is in the merch and fashion space, where they've actually been giving away digital clothing and assets that you can wear as an avatar. And we're seeing some fashion brands to sort of dive into that space with Pokemon Go.
Yeah.
From an esports point of view, is there an esports scene for Pokemon Go?
Certainly not from a competitive league or team based. It's not, but like with any video game, there's always competition.
Definitely. You touched a little bit on, obviously, touched a bit on it before about in-game. There's ability to put ads inside a game, the different types of ads there where you can, put an ad on a Pokemon gym or sponsor Pokestops, which effectively is an in-store traffic driving type of device. So there's a lot of options there for brands to, get and really around moving traffic, like getting people to locations. What about the streaming scene? Is there much in the streaming scene from a Pokemon Go?
Not so much. I mean, there are some people that are doing it. YouTube has got some audiences on there. It tends to be more around other forms of Pokemon rather than Pokemon Go.
And events. Is there opportunity with events for Pokemon Go?
Yeah, definitely. And I think it's in the news at the moment that they've got some big events happening towards the end of the year, but certainly brands can look to work either with them or just utilize it within the own events that they're doing. Certainly see it could work well for things like fashion. Definitely.
Well, and that's the thing. They've got their own events where they're getting people to move and be part of Pokemon festivals and the like. But then, you can also partner with them around your own event. And then from an IP point of view, the Pokemon are pretty much everywhere. It's obviously they're doing a lot of collaborations and it's available in some form at a price.
Yeah, that's right. And from our experience, they're definitely keen to work with brands, and we've got that relationship with them. We can help brands here in Australia do that.
And it does really play into that nostalgia, being over 20 years old. That's why it's hitting that wide demographic. So that's it. That's Pokemon Go. So let us know. I need more Pokemon trainers to befriend me. But let us know if you play Pokemon Go or if it's something that you have played during lockdown.
One final point for me, I think you raise a good point at the end there, just about the nostalgia. And outside of this particular game, Pokemon is having a real resurgence in terms of the trading cards, and they're changing hands at six-figure sums, and there's a lot of hype across YouTube and social media around that as well. So this does leverage into that as well.
Terrific. So this gets us into the big question. It's where we tackle a big question, discuss it, pull it apart, look at it. And so today's big question is, what can gaming streamers offer brands? Chris, you want to kick things off on why brands would be getting into the world of streaming in the world of gaming?
Well, I mean, the other term for a streamer is an influencer, right? And it's the same reason that brands want to get involved with any type of influencer on any of the digital or social platforms. It's that endorsement, that celebrity endorsement, that brand endorsement that they get, and they're getting access to the audiences in this space via those streamers. And one of the things we see across TikTok or Snapchat or something is a lot. It's still kind of a one-way conversation. It's the creator broadcasting something to their audience, where Twitch in particular, but YouTube, Facebook, gaming, they've got the same functionality. There is that chat, there's that two-way engagement, and that really does allow for a much higher engagement of that brand activation.
Yeah, definitely. We've talked about it before. The live streaming, there really is this this dual element of leaning in, being part of the broadcast, because it's not really broadcast because it is back and forward. So that's the initial point of why you want to get involved in streaming. It is a completely new audience. Like I said, we have to say the word authenticity on nearly every one of these episodes. But what I wanted to do in looking at the gaming influencer play, and I think it's a really good way of putting it, is where we're seeing current streaming deals and how brands are interacting with streamers right now, and then maybe how we see it. So this is what we're calling effectively the streaming 1.0 offer. This is the standard offer that you would get if you approach a streaming agency or a big time streamer, whether it's in this market or another market. You're normally getting a combination of these things, social promotion. They're going to tweet, post to pre-promote the stream going to come on. You're going to have that logos and branding available on the stream to say, look, this is who I'm talking about. It's going to be a dedicated stream, so it's going to be a Tuesday, 7:30. Come and join me. And for the most part, this one's a bit of the optional one, a bit of a call to action to send people somewhere, whether it's to talk about something or send people to a website. That's pretty much what you're seeing currently in market and what have been sort of where streaming 1.0 is.
Yeah, I think that's right. I think brands need to be conscious that when they're doing these types of campaigns, they're giving over a lot of the creative to the streamer. And again, that's the same on any type of social influencer campaign. But what is the logo placement, or where is the logo placement? What is the calls to action, either in terms of the social promotion or the promotion on the streaming platform? Some of them are using bots in the chat. They're putting other calls to action and links in chat. Others aren't quite at that level of sophistication. So it does need a bit of management. It does need a bit of forethought in how you're going to do it.
But it is similar in a sense to early social influencer and the like, where a brand would say, hey, can you be part of our campaign? And the influencers say, yes, I can, but they'll do all the creative. And so there is a little, if you're doing multiple things, there can be consistency issues. Sometimes you're not quite sure how they'll go and talk about your brand. Those kind of things are some of the issues that sometimes come up. What I wanted to do is sort of go from there to look at, what's streaming 2.0. And this is where I think what we're looking at from a Play Media offer, when we're looking at and talking about what would a streaming package look like when we're engaging a streamer. For us, it's really about extending it and making it a little bit wider, so you're not just getting that short, sugar hit of a single stream. So what does social promotion look like, and then how can advertising be leveraged to extend that and grow that audience? And then I think the other piece is the extended stream access. So to move away from the one stream Tuesday night, these of everyone have got. What does it look like to be a partner, have a relationship to have extended access to the stream, whether it is just visibility from a logo point of view or extended call to action. And then the piece for us that's really important is the audience data capture piece to actually capture the data and take it to that next step to be able to close that sale, sell that device, or whatever they're trying to do. It's really important. And then the piece that you're really focused on is the media exposure reporting piece.
Yeah, I think the extended access and really builds the consistency that means you can kind of get away more of an ongoing relationship, both with the streamer and with their audience, and that really sort of starts to add the value. But then, as you say, I'm really passionate about the measurement of it. We talk to a lot of brands that are doing this or have considered it from a brand awareness point of view, but then they're not even doing any sort of brand value studies around it. And there aren't great tools. You heard from us previously, I think you'll hear from others, that some of the platforms don't give the best access to data. We're working with some people that can really help analyze the different results that different streamers can provide. As you sort of start to see really interesting stats in terms of who's driving the mentions, who's driving the visits to websites, who's driving those metrics that are going to have more value to marketers than just having a logo that's in the wrong spot during a stream.
Yeah, and I think that's where there's going to be some real opportunities when you're going about, and the same that has happened in the influencer space, to pick the right streamer with the right audience, the way they engage their audience, and how well they can sell that click and sell that call to action. So it's going to be interesting to see how that develops. But I think it is very much around the audience data capture and be able to go back to a brand and say, this is how many impressions, this is what that media value that was delivered will help us get to this, what we're calling 2.0. That and it allows us to move to the next segment or next piece as I bumble and stumble over my words. It is about busting myths. In this segment, we always look at busting a few myths, and this one's a little bit related to our topic earlier today around my child spends too much time playing video games. Which was foreshadowed by a Four Corners report that's going to tell us all why they shouldn't. But why is this a myth to you, Chris? You're a dad. You've got young kids that play games.
Yeah.
How do you counter it as a parent, and how do you counter it as a marketer?
Yeah, look, I've got young kids, and there's varying views from the parents within our house about how much time is too much time, and that's not just for video games, right? That's for all screens. Yep. Are they watching too much Netflix? Are they on their iPads too much? And I feel like on one hand, that's a balance. That's an argument that every parent is dealing with. And that's not to say that it's not valid. I think there needs to be a healthy balance of study, homework, schooling, whatever it is, social activities, fitness, sports, what have you. But screen time has got a place in that, and gaming has got a place in that as well. And there are valuable things that you get from gaming. That it's very social now, playing online.
Well, that's a point that I wanted to make. I mean, especially if you are you're a non-gaming parent, like if you haven't grown up gaming, or if you did game and you're not a gamer now, gaming now is far different than it was 15, 20 years ago. So it's a far more social exercise. Where you are chatting, you might have a headset on, you are chatting with your friends either on Discord or whatever. So it's a social exercise as much, if not more, and that's why we've seen the growth of games like Among Us that are pretty much games that are to be played with your friends. So it's a balance there. It's not the same as again 20 years ago when you're only playing one game by yourself and it's a single player game. So I think that's the other part, the social aspect. If you go too hard the other way, then what is your child missing out on if they're not the kid playing with all on this game virtual playground?
Yeah. And nobody's come up with the right answer either for adults in terms of their screen time or for kids in terms of their screen time, in terms of what is the right amount of time or what is the healthy amount of time and how to balance that appropriately. I spent a lot of time talking to the different universities here in Australia about that topic, and they're really interested in it because gamers, and the guys that we work with that are either streaming or esports guys, they're on their screens a lot. If you look at the esports guys, the main esports here in Australia are all team-based. So there's a lot of communication, there's a lot of teamwork. They're making decisions really quickly. Their motor responses have to be really good. It's high-pressure environment a lot of the time, and that makes them kind of good case study in terms of the effects of the screen time. I think we'll start to see that research coming out that shows what a good balance is, and ultimately it is all going to be about balance.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, we're seeing that in the pro scene, and then also I think we'll start seeing things like gamers wearing the blue light glasses and those kind of things to protect their eyes. But I don't think back to busting myth. I think all things in moderation. That's the advice from us. Like I have two kids that are now out of warranty. They play video games. They've turned out okay. So take it from me, the kids will be fine. We don't need to be playing that card of how terrible video games are. So I'm looking at you, Four Corners. Take note. What we want to do is lastly look at Play Media Insights. This is where we dive in on a few different articles and the like that we are seeing in the space. And for this week, what we want to do is to look at the world of music and some of the music campaigns that some of the music labels are doing. We have Chris. You want to talk to this? We're seeing Nazy here.
Yeah, well, I mean, music and gaming is one of the areas where there's a really nice natural fit. One of the things I'm really passionate about, and we've seen some really interesting and some great campaigns between music and gaming. We talk a lot about Travis Scott and Fortnite, or Marshmello. We talked about Roblox and music the other week. But there's also other campaigns happening at a smaller level, and the Nazy campaign's a really good one. Now, Nazy's a streamer that does a lot of mixed reality streaming, and what you see here is a game called Beat Saber, and this is a campaign or a collaboration that she did with Warner Music around a Gorillaz single release for a song called Pac-Man. She's playing the Beat Saber game to the Pac-Man music. She now, similar to what we talked about earlier in terms of what streaming influencer campaigns look like. She promoted that on her social media pages. She streamed it live. The VODs of that are up on YouTube. Really great campaign to get that song and the band out to her audience. And, I know the music guys are kind of at the cutting edge in terms of the measurement there. So no doubt they're measuring playlist follows, artist likes, actual streams that are coming off the back of these types of campaigns. So yeah, a really good campaign. And I know you've seen some data around music campaigns recently.
Well, that's the thing. It's like it does go hand in hand, and some of these stats and graphs are from media, but one of them that I found fascinating was the music subscribers that are actually going to more esports events than actual gamers themselves. So obviously, music fans love going to festivals, and so esports events are just an extension of that. So that bodes well for things like Melbourne Esports Open and other events that grow and we have this festival atmosphere. And I think there will be a mashup of, what does a music esports event look like? I think there will be more things like that. But then the other piece goes back to our points last week of, there's a different game for every brand. It's the same case for like all of these different artists, where you can see, hey, the different artists are aligned to particular titles, and some of those are related to because they're on the track of a game, and that becomes the earworm that you're listening to as you're playing the different game, whether it's FIFA or Grand Theft Auto or Super Mario and the like. But then also there's that overlap of the types of and the audiences that are playing those similar games. So some of the case studies that we're looking at is looking at an artist, what types of games will fit for that artist and where is that overlap? And then how do you go about picking those streamers and what are the types of activations? So that's where I think both the research backs it up, but also the opportunities in the space are really exciting.
Yeah, and the A&R guys at the labels, they're asking artists when they sign them, they ask them, well, what shoes do you want to wear? Because they're looking at brand endorsement deals with Converse or Adidas or Nike. They also ask them, well, what games do you play and what platforms do you play them on? Because they're looking at these types of collaborative ways to help promote their artists as well.
And I guess the other piece, just to sort of wrap that up, is also the same thing we're seeing with athletes and gaming. We are seeing musicians again are playing games in their downtime, so it's like, well, what does it look like if they're streaming, if they're just playing a game and chilling while they're playing the game? How do they deepen their relationship with their fans via just a shared love of gaming? So I think there's also an option there for some musicians.
Yep.
And the second one that we wanted to look at was also Ready Player 2 and doing an event with Roblox, Chris.
Yeah, so Ready Player 2, as the name might give it away, is the sequel to Ready Player 1, which was the Ernest Cline novel, best-selling novel, and Steven Spielberg, I think, movie, blockbuster movie around the world of gaming and around the world of the metaverse, which is a whole podcast topic all of its own. But I'm sure a lot of our listeners and our viewers have seen or seen the movie or read the book. One of the key features to it is an Easter egg hunt. And so the sequel's out this month, Ready Player 2, and what the publishing company has done is create an Easter egg hunt or a scavenger hunt within Roblox using the different creators and games within Roblox. type of campaign that I think a lot of other brands can do. And so it's an interesting one for me. I wanted to highlight it here because we talk about Travis Scott and Fortnite. That's a multi-million-dollar type integration. This type of stuff, yes, you can work with the publisher to do some of this stuff, but you can do it without them as well if you've picked the right platform that suits your audience, your brand.
Yes, definitely. I think there is an option there, and I actually look forward to us potentially doing a Roblox activation with a brand in the very near future, Chris. That pretty much wraps up things this week. But before we move off, can't not move on until talking about Valorant First Strike. It has started last night. But my team, Gravitas, takes on your former team, Order, tonight at around 7:30. We have the second match on the bill. Valorant's starting to pop off. It'll probably be one of the games that we talk about in the Explain the Game in the near future. But it should be exciting. We haven't faced each other this is our second title. We're now facing each other. Have been facing each other in League of Legends, and now to come against one another in the world of Valorant, it should be exciting.
Yeah, the Order boys have been around for a couple of tournaments now. I think they've got one win under their belt, but this is your first tournament, so it'll be good to see them go head to head.
Well, it would. We both came in as in the group stage where there was 32. Gravitas have done quite well because we were seeded 32, and we've got through to the final 8. So I'm taking the wins of getting through to the final stages here for First Strike, but it'll be really exciting. I'm actually looking forward to going to Fortress Melbourne for the grand final. Hopefully I'll be seeing Gravitas, but who knows? I might be seeing Order there. But yeah, you can follow that, twitch.tv/Fortress Melbourne. I'll be tweeting about it. So you can send me either victory, congratulations, or commiserations, either way. That's it for this. That's it for this week. There's some highlights. That's right. I was meant to click and show you what Valorant looks like, but that's what Valorant looks like. This is where we do our awkward ending of the show, where we haven't quite figured out how to do it. Chris, how can people find you on the internet? And that's why it's called an awkward ending, folks. Chris's internet has gone out once again. I'm going to leave it there. You can reach out to Chris. I am Chris Derrick on Twitter, and you can reach out to me at Sean Callanan. We're going to wrap up. We've had too many internet troubles this week. That's going to be it from us. Until next week, see you later. Thank you for listening to this Play Media replay. Remember, these episodes are coming out on the Play Media YouTube channel. You can find that at weareplaymedia.com. As always, if you want to look at the world of video games, gaming, streaming, esports, this is where I'm going to send you to the Play Media work. That's where I'm going to be doing that kind of work. Still be doing everything Sports Geek with clients around digital and activations and the like, but anything in the gaming space will be under the Play Media banner. Go to weareplaymedia.com.